Welcome.
Hello and welcome to OzLoL Podcast, episode 72. You should tune in live every week on twitch.tv/TForce Podcast so you can see Vic and Ranconius dance. It's particularly funny since they start dancing even when the screen isn't on, so I guess they're looking silly. Anyway, my name's Carrot Colossus. I am the host of the show, and we've got lots to talk about this week, and we've got a special guest to join us as well. But first off, before I introduce the guests, we have returning again, Stephen Garstone and Victor Pradley.
We're all shocked that I'm back.
Yes, big shock. Returning victoriously from the netherworld of being without internet is Ranconius.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And joining us for the first time this week is Keller RE. Welcome along to the OzLoL Podcast.
Hey man, great to be here, thank you.
Now, just some show news first. So, just remember, twitch.tv/TForce Podcast. You can also get the VODs at youtube.com/TForce Podcast if you aren't able to watch the live stream. You can check out our website, ozlol.trinityforcepodcast.com. Or go to trinityforcepodcast.com to check out our sister shows, the T-Force Podcast and the T-Force LCS Rundown. Worth mentioning right now is also that the T-Force proper faced off against the League of Legends Anonymous podcast, and I want to rub it in that Ponophobia lost. So, sucked in, sir.
Really? He lost after
yeah, they
all
lost.
that belt waving?
Yeah.
I'm undefeatable.
I'm pretty sure that his ego has not been battered at all, because that's just Adam. But, you know, it's funny. We want to make mention also the fact there's no Battle Arena this week. Unfortunately, I have to work this week on Thursday night. So, but as of next week, it should be back because the job I've got won't be working Thursday nights after that.
I have no idea, just FYI.
Okay.
we weren't doing Battle Arena tomorrow night. Okay.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, right, and Thursday off. Scrims, nup, guys, and regular Thursday.
Yeah.
He's gonna show up
what?
tomorrow night
No
to
Battle
Scrims.
Arena? No Battle Arena. Better play ARAM with Victor again.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Victor, if you, I'll try and retweet what he says. But yes, just be in the OzLoL chat room. So go to the client. OzLoL's the chat room. You can basically, there's always people there, and yeah, Vic will put up some ARAMs to be played.
Yeah, I normally do a couple ARAMs, community games or something while Battle Arena's not on, just because I'm doing nothing during that time always. So
Yep.
come play some freaking video games. Jesus Christ, couldn't get anyone last week. It's bullshit. Only had to play with
I
Steve.
wouldn't play with you either.
Whoa!
Whoa,
New
no,
guy
that's-
steps in, slaps him down.
If I remember correctly, we won 5 games in a row. I wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Seen that time I pulled Tarek.
we haven't even introduced the new guy, and he's trash talking Victor. So I like this guy. Well, speaking of new guys, let's Killer Ari. Welcome along to the show. We ask the same new people all the time, what is their favorite lane and their favorite champion. So, who is yours and where?
Favorite lane, definitely bottom lane. AD carry main. And favorite champion is without a doubt Graves.
Okay. So, are you pretty happy with the fact that Graves is now king of the kiddies in
Graves-
bottom lane?
Graves has always been king of the kiddies. People are only just starting to realise now, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before
How
he
it
was
works.
his own grave instead of the other graves.
Wow, that was a really bad
He
pun.
was occupying graves rather than being...
Yeah.
There you go.
That was a nice cover by you guys. That was nice.
He does stuff sometimes. He's alright.
I would have thought he worked on his puns when he went away for all those many weeks. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. And my wife's pointing at me. What? Okay. Sorry about that. Wife interruption.
Welcome, our new guest this week.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah,
Carrot's wife. Yeah.
yeah.
It's,
Favorite lane, hitting my husband in the head. All right, well, let's talk about the Oceanic scene because we've had the end of the Oceanic Challenger series, and unlike last week, we have good news because Immunity won, and they're in the OPL. So, spoiler alert, which I've already spoiled, but whatever, because there's another game. So, Team Immunity played against the Villains and beat them 2-0. Sudden Fear beat Climax Crew 2-0 also. What did you guys think of the games? Say why don't you go first, since you were triumphant.
Yeah, well, I obviously enjoyed the first set, Villains versus Immunity. Our drafting was so much better. We were like, this is one of the days where we showed up.
I agree.
Sometimes you have good games, you have bad games. I think we did we did quite well. I mean, the games weren't perfect, but show me a perfect game, and it'll probably be in Korea.
Yeah.
Samsung,
well, not Samsung White anymore, but probably Samsung White.
No, there's been some quite good matches in the Korean games, but no, no, Immunity versus Villains. We I feel that we outdrafted them every game. We just outperformed them. It's quite kind of the opposite of what we did the week before. It was quite good.
Well, sadly, I was away for Australia Day weekend, but upon hearing that Immunity did pull out a victory and not go full retard like the previous week, I was very pleased because I was very disappointed the previous games. But it's very good to see they got it together.
Language because I don't want to lose my position.
I think it's good that Immunity did better than last week when they went silly.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, I agree. Like, I think that Steve's right. Like, they actually showed up. They showed the sorts of skills that I was hoping to see in both games as well. Like, I think both games were pretty consistent, which is good. And they just looked more classy than Villains. I think Sudden Fear versus Climax Crew, they were pretty even, and Sudden Fear kind of just pulled out the win. So I think that was quite an interesting comparison because Immunity showed really good form, like proper pro form in the Oceanic scene kind of level, and Sudden Fear were just kind of they're a really good solo queue team, and they won, so credit to them. But
I just want to point. I'm not going to be giving much of an insight into those particular games, and the reason is the Australia Day weekend. While many of you were out having barbecues with friends and everything like that, I took full advantage of my time and decided to watch all of the OGN games, all of the LCS games, both EU and NA, as well as the Challenger Series stuff, and I got as much LPL as possible. So my brain was just complete. The details on specific matches from 4 days ago are a complete blur to me.
I'm pretty sure what we can confirm is that Villains Nexus exploded twice.
Yeah.
And Immunities didn't ever explode. So that's positive. There was
I think it was actually quite dominant, in fact. I mean, the first game, I think they only lost one tower. The second game, they lost a couple. Everybody looked in good form. Claire was just... Like, Claire just destroyed people in the mid lane. Uber Giant looked great. Giants Bro. Hang on, which one is it? I always forget. Giants Bro?
Uber Bro, yeah.
Uber Bro, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
It looked great. T-Gun was fantastic. I mean, I think T-Gun was he was good last week as well. Like, I think T-Gun's probably had the most consistent form out of anybody in that team.
Yep.
And, I mean, he played Alistair and Leona, I think. And just great. He's always a pleasure to watch. So, Villains did all right. I mean, they weren't terrible. They were just outclassed, and that's good for Immunity. So I'm happy how that played out. So I guess that leads us to the OPL starts next Thursday. So make sure you've put that in your diary. It's going to be big. The first game is Legacy versus Chiefs, so that's just going to be excellent. Get ready for it.
Do you want a better game? I think that's probably the best game to start it off.
Well, yeah. Either that. I mean, it would be good to see AV. Speaking of AV, they're playing in IEM. Or they just finished like an hour ago. So we'll be talking about that next week as well. But I'm kind of hoping that we can get Benji on because I think it'd be really good to talk with Benji. I've contacted him, but no promises. Quickly, just want to also mention that League music. So, League of Legends, the music of League of Legends Volume 1 is out. Make sure you get it. It's really amazing. And it's great for a podcast because it gives us lots of outro music. I love that.
It occurred to me when I was because I'm going to be downloading them to put them onto my phone. I realized I have nothing but League of Legends music on my phone.
Nice.
Nothing else.
Smite and Ignite, baby.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into patch 5.1.
Find nothing but Elvis Live on my phone.
Okay.
Lots of badmin.
Badmin's so good. Let's talk about patch 5.1 and 2 because we've still got a lot to cover, and we've got about 50 minutes to do it. So we're going to finish off the patch notes from 5.1 and anything where there's like something from 5.2 to contribute, we'll talk about that as well. So Rek'Sai is
Yeah, quick we can get through this.
yeah. Let's see.
It took us so long to get to 5.1 that 5.2 goes live tomorrow at the time of recording. So we're gonna just try and smash out as much information as possible.
Well, no, it's good because we
catch up to our normal schedule.
So interesting about Rek'Sai is she's had nerfs in both patches, so we can talk about them together. So that's good, and ZZ top portals in both of them as well. So Rek'Sai, let's talk Rek'Sai. She's been nerfed across the board. So we've got hang on, let me bring her up. All right, so Rek'Sai has had nerfs in all of her damage. The base damages, her on a Q, her attack damage ratio on a Q, in both burrowed and unburrowed form, and the ratios on her unburrowing and the damage on unburrowed. So basically, it's her Q and her W that have been hit the most. Is this enough to tame Rek'Sai? Because it's pretty sizable. So the base damage on her Q's gone down to 55 from like 95 in patch 5.0. So that's a huge nerf.
Yeah, that's in 2 patches.
In 2 patches.
Yeah, like before 5.1, it was 95 damage at 5 ranks.
Yeah.
And with, what was the ratio? It was 0.4 bonus attack damage.
To 0.3.
Now, it's been nerfed to 0.3, but the base damage has been dropped to 55. That's a huge, and we're quite well deserved. Like 100%, I think it was 100% ban rate the first week in like a competitive across the board, except for maybe a few LPO games that I didn't check. But it was basically 100% ban in Europe, 100% ban in Korea.
And even if you look at the IEM games from today as well, still like up there pick ban. The competitive, like the picks you're fighting over at the moment are like Sivir, Rek'Sai, and Nah. So those are the big 3 ones, and quite rightly so.
Give Janna some respect. Janna's in there.
That'd be a howling gale too much respect.
You're off the show.
No.
She's really.
No.
She's
Scott,
really at the eye of the
it's
storm
your
here.
first week back. This is your first week back, and I'm kicking you off.
Hey,
Wow.
hey,
Wow.
We've given Victor veto power.
I
Yeah.
haven't said anything and I'm already done.
Don't monsoon down on my parade here, alright?
Okay, that one's better. I'll give that one credit. I'm a big fan of puns. I just want good puns. So, all right.
I'm gonna make the perfect dad. Just my fiance knows. She knows. She's ready for it.
Also worth mentioning in patch 4.2, the base damage on his W at max rank has gone from 260 to 60, but the immunity to the knockup has gone to 8 seconds at max rank, 10 at rank 1. So as opposed to 10 across the board. So I actually quite like that change. I think, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, even 8 seconds, even 10 seconds is still incredibly powerful for a continuous knockup. I mean, Alistair, Malphite, like those guys are so incredible because of their knockups. And 8 seconds is 10 seconds. You can almost say a team fight's over. 8 seconds is probably well within the bounds of a regular sort of team fight, like an extended sort of team fight. So
that's like you can catch the chasers. And
yeah. And considering that his Q is still on a reasonably low cooldown for the Prey Seeker, the ranged attack, and that's a slow. So yeah, it does. Yeah, it does slow.
Yeah, the borrowed form slows. I'm like 90% sure it slows.
No, I know it does.
I haven't seen enough
it's
Rek'Sai
not-
play to be certain.
I'm
but-
95% sure it just reveals.
No, it does actually slow. It's not a huge slow. It's like 20%, but it's it's pretty good. So is this are we going to see Rek'Sai brought back to the pack, or Kilari, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think this brings Rek'Sai back to the pack, or is she still well above how good she as a jungler compared to the others?
I don't think she's well above the rest of the pack. I think she's still definitely above it. And one of the biggest things about Rek'Sai is the vision that she grants. Like, you can literally just walk up to a lane in borrowed form and know if the jungler's there to counter gank you or not. Like, that's ridiculously powerful. And, just being able to walk around in the jungle in borrowed form and see exactly where they are, it removes a lot of the aggressive warding that you need, which helps a lot for picks. But at the same time, the biggest issue with Rek'Sai is how ridiculously tanky she got for all the damage that she had.
Yeah.
So scaling those back is definitely going to be good for Rek'Sai in terms of balance level. I think she's still definitely going to be a popular pick. Her jungle clear speed is really, really good, and at the moment, farming junglers can get insane amounts of gold if you're efficient with how you do that. I did notice they brought back the first tier jungle items by 100 gold, so you can no longer do a buff in a camp and have that. So it's gonna sort of impact her as well, I think. But yeah, overall, I think she's still gonna be a pretty strong pick. She just won't be ridiculously broken to the point where she's 100% banned.
I mean, I guess this probably would point her towards going for just a tanky build rather than like adding any, because the ratios have been nerfed. So I mean, 0.3 is not great. So I guess you probably just end up going more tanky.
In all honesty, I think this is actually going to do the opposite. I think it's going to lead people to build more damage to Rek'Sai, because before you could have all that damage and just build tank. Like, that was the issue. Like, whereas now you're going to need, a Hydra and more of Malmortius and, potentially even a Last Whisper to do the damage that you're used to. So, that's obviously going to mean that she's not just able to wreck the fights 1v5. So I think it might sort of lead more in that direction for Rek'Sai. Even though the scaling's not as good, it's, it still does scale. Like 0.3 it's pretty decent for an AD ability, especially one that's on such a low cooldown. And
yeah. And I guess if it's 0.3 each attack.
Yeah, realistically,
you
hit 5 people with it, you have 1.5 AD scaling on the
that's a good
ability.
point.
So.
And you can proc that 3 times as well, so that's a 4.5 scaling. If you're able to do that, that's obviously the 99% chance that that's never going to happen in most of the games you play. But
yeah,
the one game where it happens, dude. That's what we all live
You'll
for.
get wrecked. Yes.
And the reason people still play Gangplank for that one game where you one-hit Persona support.
Yeah. So good.
That's why Gangplank works. One-hit the Sona, get all the free gold, guys.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's move on to Renekton. So he's had some pretty interesting changes. It's probably too many changes just to go into everything, but essentially they've reworked his Fury and some of his damage. So essentially he deals less damage to minions, gets less healing from minions, get less Fury from minions, but more healing, more Fury, more damage onto champions. I really like these changes. I think they're going to... I think overall it's going to make his dueling ability quite a bit better. I mean, the healing versus champions and his Q has gone from 20% to 27% at max rank, plus an AD damage ratio, which is pretty good, I'd say. Anyway, what do people think? Does this reintroduce the Renekton bar? Is he going to be the standard for top lane?
No, I think Riot have finally found the spot where Renekton's meant to be with this sort of stuff. Like, they want him to be that early game bully. They want him to be able to do the things he's always done, but not have everyone else just be an inferior pick towards him. Now we've got other superstars like we've got Lyssandra's being picked in top. Cassidon's kind of making a comeback. Like, all these other champions are making their presence known, and these little changes to Renekton, because they're not massive. They're not massive changes. It's not like the Rek'Sai changes we just talked about, where in the space of a couple of weeks he's dropped 50 base damage on his core ability. Like, these are all like, shift the numbers around here, just to try and get him into the right spot. And I like this. I think it's gonna put him on the early game lane just dominance sort of side of thing that he's already on, but have more of a focus on going against champions rather than just farming with them being scared of any kind of aggression. So yeah, I really like it. And the Fury changes, they seem to be not all that noticeable. Like, if you're really paying attention, you can notice the Fury changes, but it pretty much comes at a similar rate that it always has.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I reckon in the middle of a team fight, you're going to get a lot more of your empowered abilities off.
And that's where they want to throw the power back in. That's because that's where he was this uncontrollable lane bully that they really could do nothing about early on, and except just nerf. And I think one of the points that really brought this change about was I think they were very worried about Renekton being uncontrollable early on, especially with the dragon changes and the amount of AD that he was looking to build in that lane. Whereas this now balances him out across the board, still allows him to get that dragon buff, not be unbearable, be somewhat controllable, but still be that lane bully, but still have relevance at the later stages of the game, is what they wanted to give him. He's not just going to fall off 100% for sure. Renekton's gone after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
He's now somewhat of a thing that'll be there and can sustain tank like more of an Aurelia. Which is kind of what they wanted, and you know, Gnar, the fact that Gnar is so prevalent as well, that you can transform into this thing that has so much more bonus tankiness, and then brings all this burst damage as well when he transforms, and that just sort of that balances Renekton a lot more.
I mean, if you look at like his Q and E, you know, you get 10 Fury per target you hit with it. I mean, essentially, in a team fight situation, if they're all bunched together, you do one E, you've got an empowered ability. If you do one Q, you've got an empowered ability. Like, that's a lot quicker in terms of empowered abilities compared to before, whereas essentially he was relying on the generation of his ultimate to get those empowered abilities. So, you know, that's pretty brutal. And that's healing as well, because, I mean, the empowered healing versus champions is 80% of damage plus a 25% attack damage ratio. So that's a lot of healing.
Yeah, no, the healing change is quite noticeable. Like if you're like, as I've been spectating a lot of games lately, as you can tell. But yeah, like when he does the swipe, it's just you watch his health bar just go up huge amounts. Yeah. Compared to what was, I don't even want to say reasonable, because of I'm still bitter about the Tryndamere rework from ages ago, but because his Q does nothing now. like just watch a max rage Tryndamere Q compared to like one Renekton swipe.
You, sir, have not played AP Tryndamere.
I actually still think AP Tryndamere is really good. On a side note, like, really good. It's just not ridiculously broken.
Should we get Swiper in on this conversation?
Yeah.
I feel like Swiper would have stats to say.
And the other thing is, Tryndamere is building lifesteal and he's critting. So his healing is as much in just walloping people endlessly for like 1 billion damage, where Renekton doesn't do that. So if you made Tryndamere's healing any better than what it is, like, he would just be redonkulously overpowered.
No.
So, one thing I want to mention on the whole Renekton changes front is how it actually impacts the playstyle of the person playing Renekton, specifically in lane. I've only actually got to play against it once in lane, but I'll throw this out there. I did in the lane phase 06. You can no longer just sort of, Steven mentioned this, you can no longer sort of just get away with bullying the other person away from minions. You actually have to bully the champion as well, and I think that's a really nice change. And it moves Renekton away from being, you know, a strong top lane pick, and moves him into his own category of, you know, he's now a unique champion. He's sort of the only champion in the game at the moment who really, really has to just destroy the other champion in lane. Like, that's it. That's your objective in the game, is by like 10 minutes for the other person to have left the game. Like, that's the successful ending of a Renekton game.
Yeah. That's good. That's a really good point, Ari. Yeah, and that's heaps more fun anyway. Like, that's why you should play Renekton.
It's really nice to play against that, because it's something unique, and it's something where all of a sudden, you know, Renekton is now in his own category. Yeah. Whereas before, I felt balancing changes was going to end in 5 years, where every single champion had the same ability that did the same amount of damage on every single button.
Yeah. And I guess it gives a clearer path for the enemy champion as well. Like, if you're playing against Renekton, you need to think, okay, I really need to avoid his abilities, because if I can stay out of range of those abilities, I can punish him a lot harder for not coming in and attacking me specifically, rather than him just... I mean, the problem before was he just use his abilities, take some damage, and then just heal up, and he just became so oppressive because of that constant healing on the minions, where this is... If he doesn't actually get that damage on that champion, he's just nowhere near as effective, so...
I actually get the feeling that with these changes, he might actually be stronger than Mundo at teamfight healing, so... We'll have to keep an eye on that, I think.
That'd be kind of disgusting.
Anyway, we should probably...
move on to Skarner. Okay, so I know Steve's happy about this. Skarner, the jungle love train of 2015 comes to Skarner. there's such a terrible visual metaphor that might come with that.
Jungle love train.
Yeah. But they put it in the patch notes. His mana costs at max rank of his Q have been reduced by 4. The cooldown on his E, which is his slow, the line slow, is reduced by 2 seconds at max rank. Now, I didn't think much of these changes, but Steve, you really liked them. Or maybe it was the Hecarim one, but yeah, it was...
Well, the Hecarim changes we talked about last week.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Where they reduced the mana cost on his Q, and that was a massive deal.
Yeah, at these early levels, that's
strong,
right.
Yeah. The change to Fracture, like his E, that's really negligible. Like, that's... like, even if you somehow got 40% cooldown on Skarner in a game, like, that's... what, half a second?
Yeah.
Like it's that the E, no big deal. The Crystal Slash, this is huge because Q, the Crystal Slash ability Q, on Skarner is the one that you rank first. Like, you max that thing by level 9, and you are spamming it whenever you're in combat as much as you can. It's your main tool for getting the 3 stacks on for the stun or the damage amplification on your ultimate. That's your bread and butter, Crystal Slash, and I think reducing its mana is just gonna make him a better fighter. It's gonna make him a better fighter.
Yeah, it's the same thing I said about Hecarim when we spoke about Hecarim. Whenever we spoke about Hecarim, is that although a cheaper cost, small little change doesn't seem like much, but because he's spamming it all the time over like 10 or 20 or even 5 abilities, it's much more significant because like 5 will become like 20 after 4. Something like that.
Well, I mean, it basically gives him an extra... I think just on his base mana alone, it gives him an extra 5 uses of his Q. Which, if you think about, like, every 3 abilities is a stun, not so bad. Certainly, it would allow him to farm the jungle probably more effectively after a team fight. So he'd have more mana at the end of things, which allow you to take a dragon, or allow you to farm the jungle, or, that
especially
sort of
since Spirit Stone is gone now, so he can't just get free mana straight up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good change for Skarner.
Sona. So Sona changes her base move speed to be reduced by 5 because the squishy champion needs that more than anything. And the damage amplification on her Q is gone from 50 to 40%. So a little bit less burst. Small changes. If you talk to Days Untold on the Trinity Force podcast, she loves Sona, and she reckons Sona's in a really good position at the moment. I don't know. I'm not so...
She was saying on the podcast, on T-Force podcast, that the big problem with Sona is really she's got too much sustain for a harassy sort of pokey laner, and too much sort of poke and harass for a sustain champ, and so it's got this weird balance.
We're going to be careful we don't just like become a copy paster of Trinity Force.
Yeah,
I know, but the thing, I feel like I want to say I wanted to have less damage, but I think if I was to do this change, I would change it so rather than she does a bunch of upfront damage, rather she marks them to take more damage. So you sort of have to play with your laner a bit more, so follow up on an attack after Sona. So I hit you with a power chord Q. Now if my laner hits you straight after, then you take more damage. Haha.
I really like that sort of an idea, especially like if you move that over to her E or whatever, which is the speed up, and you power chord marks them and they gain bonus speed when they attack a champion that's marked with the E power chord. That works for team fights. Q also works for team fights. That gives Sona so much more playability to work with.
And it'll redefine her more as a support now, so you don't have fucking stupid ass Lich Bane, Death Cap Sonas running around. So now it's more like you are a support champion. You need to have someone following up on your sort of mad work or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think she's alright as she is. I mean, her main thing is that she's empowering the carry. But yeah, I mean, I play tanky champions, like tanky supports. So I kind of think, well, Sona's just a free kills because she's just so squishy.
She's a reason to pick Zed.
Yeah. Yeah, or like, you know, Leona or Thresh, like all of them deal with Sona pretty well. So I kind of think she's probably alright at where she is, but I mean, it just reduces the burst. Because it's her every third ability that the bonus damage kicks in. So this is basically a 10% or a 10% reduction in damage every time she casts her power chord, which is the empowered thing. But yeah, sorry, Killer, do you want to?
Yeah, all I can say about these changes is there is a god. I am done with being 2v1 by Sona in lane.
Yeah, right, okay.
Sona literally just walks up and out-trades both of you, and then walks back and just heals
She was
herself
out trading
before.
my Draven. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
45%
Sona just walks
increase on
up,
my
out-trades
auto
her
attacks.
AD carry and the support, and then walks back and heals. And like she's lost like a third of her mana bar, and then she has the support item, and then she's just got full mana and walks up with the next power chord. And then you're sitting there with Soraka like, she can't heal fast enough. She can't heal both of us. You're just there getting 2v1 by Sona. Meanwhile, Kog'Maw's sitting like across the map, just like farming up because he's
Free
playing
farm.
PvE.
Yeah.
Like I'm done
You're
with
trailing
Sona.
off and you're saying a bunch of names. I don't know what's going on. Are we still talking
Yeah,
about
Sona's broken. Thank God she got nerfed.
Yeah.
No.
Woo!
Alright.
She
Killer
healed
is-
better than Soraka.
Let's
Sona did way too much damage before. I still think she does a bit on the strong side of damage for what she does later
Yeah.
on in the game. Like
Sona's a bard. Make her feel like a bard.
you see Sona with like
Useless.
150
And
AP
pick up
and then
the
like
AT.
she's got a 30% move speed buff for the entire team. All of a sudden Sona's running around with like 600 move speed. And the rest of her team's like there and you're like, what do I do against this?
fair
So,
point. Maybe I underestimated her.
I'm-
Maybe I need to play her.
I'm glad she was doing too much damage. I like, especially early on in lane, like level 3, if you got hit by the power chord plus like the empowered auto attack, like with all that damage, you could easily lose half your health, and only having 1 health pod and like 3% lifesteal is just not enough to deal with how much damage Sona was doing. Especially since it's not targeted damage, and no, I risk getting called out here, but it's not skill damage. You literally mash Q
Yeah.
3 times in the general direction of your opponent and then right click them. Like, I didn't like how much damage that was doing, so I do like the fact that she did get a little bit of love.
Hey,
Yeah, well, it's love from my perspective.
All right, let's talk about Syndra. She's actually been changed in both 5.1 and 5.2. So the base damage on her Q at the early level has been reduced by 20, so from 70 to 50, and then sort of been reduced a little bit across the board, but still the same at max rank. And then the E, the width of her stun has been reduced. It was reduced quite a bit in 5.1, but they've toned that back in 5.2. So, but nevertheless, the width of her stun, which was about 400 meters wide, has gone to like a bit narrower. What are people reckon of these changes? Is Syndra, like, is the oppressiveness of her kit still there, or?
so many times I felt like I shouldn't have been stunned when I was stunned by this slut.
Yeah, before with her older hitboxes, I do think that was correct. However, the 5.1 hitboxes, I personally never played Syndra other than like 2 games, just like, oh yeah, she's not interested in playing her. And everyone was saying that, oh my god, I can't hit a Syndra stun anymore. Like, the hitboxes, and from watching playing with them, the orbs are now seeming to go through people,
Yeah.
but no stun seems to go off. So I think we'll have to wait on the 5.2 changes, which are doing the slight reverse. They're just tweaking it around to make sure that the Syndra stun a lot better lines up. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, that action.
Part of the... I can see why she's been hit 2 patches in a row. Why they're trying to get her into the right spot regarding her stuns. Is because people have been playing her on a professional level as a support. Like, just because the AoE stun and base damage on the abilities and everything like that was similar to that of Annie, but with a more widespread effect. So, I think they're really trying to go, we want Syndra to be in the game, just not in the bot lane. Come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean,
I really
given
feel
how
that's
much,
a
like,
nudge
how
on.
spammable her Q is and how much damage it does, like, at 70 damage is, like, a lot of damage for just, something that's 40 mana.
Yeah, and
So-
that's... How much did they reduce Off Rek'Sai's Q again?
Yeah. That's it. No, I mean,
4.5 AD ratio?
Oh,
What?
It's crazy.
I mean, again, the good thing is her potential is still there. Like, the ability to get the 2 or 3 man stun at it. Because they didn't nerf the range. And I think that's kind of what makes Syndra kind of really... Her stun really kind of powerful, is just the range at which you can be hit by that thing. So, you know, that's a good thing.
What I really like about this change is that Syndra has now got the Nidalee treatment, where if you can land that one ability, you can then land all of your damage afterwards. So the fact that you pretty much get to land that ability when you don't even hit someone with it is a bit rough. So I like the fact that they're tweaking that, because if you land the Syndra stun, you kill them. Like, that's it, they're dead. Like, if they're not Mundo or, like, you know, Renekton, and they don't have 200 MR and 3k HP, and you land that stun, they're dead. Like, so I like the fact that it is getting readjusted to the point where it's actually a little bit difficult to hit the stun. Like, so we'll see how it goes. I definitely agree that it was too rough with how much they hit it this patch. You know, it's already pretty easy to see it coming if you're just laning against Syndra. So with how weak it was this patch, I laned against Syndra twice on this patch, and I can't recall getting stunned once, even though, you know, orbs were flying in front of my face. Like, so it definitely needs to be buffed again, but I do like the fact that it is getting nerfed. I think it definitely was too strong. The base damage on Dark Sphere, I don't really see much of a change there. By level 5, the difference is negligible, so I think
it's
this
not a
is
difference.
It's exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at level 5, it's still 10 damage difference, but you know, that's my point. It's negligible. Like, you're not going to notice that change too much, unless level 1 fights start to become the meta. Then it might have an impact. But this stage,
I agree. Level 1
like
fights for the meta. Yeah, let's do this. Let's like 5-man the Nexus at level 1 and have the other team run out the base at us.
Syndra's become less viable in the 401.
Let's move on to some of the very interesting changes. Base gates. So good thing is we've had a good chance to play with them as well. So base gates, if you don't know what they are for some reason, like you don't pay attention to the map, there is now a gate in between the tower, which only between the tower entry points. There's now a gate that only the team whose side is on can actually access. What do we reckon of base gates? I'm kind of a bit ambivalent. I mean, it's good for junglers because then they can get to their jungle a bit quicker, but...
I really thought you were going to say you were on the fence.
I should have!
Oh
my gosh.
The setup was there.
Missed the obvious pun.
It was. The comment... you really left that comment with a wide open gate, and then just slammed it shut.
Now...
the opening is now closed. For that pun.
Base gates. Base gates.
He's clearly playing on the red side and trying to get into the blue base. That's his problem.
Anyway, let's get into this.
Base gates. So, for a long time, I wasn't... Well, I haven't been around for a while, but for a while, I was not quite sure who the base gate really helped. It's sort of like you get to your jungle, you get to your camps a bit quicker, you can sort of run through there when you're getting chased, but then I started practicing Evelynn for a bit, and it made me think about stealth champs on the defense with the base gates, because this
Oconus's mind.
Yeah, because when I was playing Evelynn, I found, I can totally submarine Evelynn while we're defending a siege now, and you can do that with Rengar and Twitch and I guess Shaco, but he could jump over anyway. So I think stealth champions is who this has really helped in defending sieges.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's other champions. Like Lyssandra's probably does pretty well from it because she can, Claw of Doom in there still from the side. Like anybody who comes from the flanks, this helps a lot.
Well, someone that we've talked about a couple of times in the last few weeks, Hecarim, really benefits. Like the difference of ulting from behind your tower into the enemy sieger, compared to like sneaking in from the side. From either side, because the distance is equal on both sides. So if they're like heavily warding the dragon side, you can go to the Baron side and sideswipe them that way. So
Rammus is another one.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for specific champions, but where I feel it's having the biggest impact is running to contest Baron or Dragon. in
That's a
those
good point.
crucial seconds of the game, you know, not having to go straight up the mid lane and then take a left. You know, you can just go straight through your own jungle where they're less likely to have placed a lot of vision. That I think that really does open up a lot more in the way of like comeback opportunities there, like making the game more exciting while still not giving a massive like advantage to either side, because both sides have it. You know, kind of gives an advantage to the defending team.
That's more relevant for the earlier Barons, I think, when they don't have as much damage. Because if you're running from your base to get to a Baron at like anywhere over 30 minutes in the game, then that Baron's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's one of those earlier Barons, if it's one of those earlier Barons, then you'll probably get there a bit quicker with this. You'll get there when they're probably 3/4 or halfway through it. But the later ones when they got damage, I don't see the big benefit this is going to have.
Well, mainly on the pro level side of things, most of the time they'll be going off Baron timer, so both teams will be rocking up before Baron spawns, and just saving a couple of seconds off your transit time, that can actually make a difference in those circumstances. You're right about the damage.
2 seconds to take a tower.
Yeah, that's right. And the emphasis on dragons at the moment, that comes up a lot. Like throughout the first 35 minutes of the game. You want to get to that dragon as soon as possible.
Well, even
in that sense, dragon would be better because I don't see a lot of barons going down in pro games. Because if you're going by baron timer,
can we just remove baron from the map? I just don't like it
No.
as an objective.
Oh my gosh, no, we're going to talk about this then.
Okay.
Like, not right now, but I'm going to bring that up again when we talk about it.
I
Well-
want to touch on this base gate just before we transition off it. I think they are utterly useless. I think the impact they have on the game is literally so little, like, the Renekton changes mean more for the meta. Like,
Wow.
95% of the time, if a team feels strong enough to push into your base, whatever side you come from isn't going to impact the fight at all. The AD carry's just going to stand on the other side of the lane, and then all of a sudden you being on that side doesn't matter. You still have to go through the rest of the team. I think super late game, like 55 minutes in the game, they will have a little bit of an impact. As to, you know, maybe
When
you
you're
can
both
catch
full
out an
build.
AD carry who doesn't position properly, or, you know, you can land some sort of blitzcrank hook, like you run out the gate, blitzcrank hook someone, and then like thresh hook them, or some.
That opinion's fine to
something
me
like that.
because I only think this is an Evelyn buff. That's
But-
all I think this.
Yeah,
that's all I think these gates are, an Evelyn buff.
For me, the biggest change with the gates is playing with my friends. We just run back and forth through them for the first minute and a half of the game, and then we go to like that's how the game. That's how the gates have changed my gameplay this patch. Like that's.
I will
it.
say quickly about the gates. They feel really weird because you can't see through them. Like they don't provide any kind of vision. Like if
Yeah,
they
they do.
provided vision, if they provided vision on that side of the wall, that would have been much.
I think
better.
that would actually make a difference. Like a lot
Oh
of.
God,
difference
yes.
if they
How often do you
provided
need?
vision.
How often do you need that part warded when you're in siege situations?
Well, it does give vision. If you stand there near the base gate, it does give you vision.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you actually have to like
Inside
stand
the
in the gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Stand there
literally
waiting
can't
for
see.
it
They
to
can
actually
hit you.
grab
Yeah.
you.
I thought it was like more or
This
less
is where-
transparent.
No.
Oh.
Anyway, this is where
It's a wall.
Base
the
gates are
issue
coded like
problems.
brushes confirmed.
What was
Okay.
that rank Rangers?
You have to be in
The-
it to see out of it.
Yeah, this is where I think that the coding problems and potential problems show up. I've actually played 2 games of Nautilus over the last 2 games that I've played. And I
In the
never
last
actually
pull to the
tested...
gate.
100% Nautilus picker.
Yeah, in my last 2 games. And I never actually tested whether the Q from Nautilus, the dredge line, actually grabs the gate and uses it as terrain, or you can hook through. Because then what happens? I think that definitely needs to be brought up, and somebody probably needs to look at that.
I'm like
because-
99.9% sure you just hook into the gate.
Yeah, that's what I feel like the same. And
Well, I
like,
feel
the-
like for allies, you should just always go through it no matter what. But if it's something like if you're a Vayne and you knock an enemy into that wall, well, the enemy can't go through it. They got to hit it.
Well, they do.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty
that's
sure
what
you
it should
can
be.
condemn someone into the gate. Like,
But
they
if
can't.
it's
there you
like
go.
if you knock a if you're Vayne and you knock someone into their own gate, then they'll just go straight through it. That sort of thing. Let's stop talking about base
That's
gates.
awesome.
Yeah, okay,
Logic, right.
let's
There's
move on. Well,
one more point I have on this as well.
oh, okay.
Tell us how you really feel.
Jeez.
Alright. The The one scenario where I think they would have made some sort of relevance out of, or I'm just trying to bring up most of the league that competitive level league that I've seen, is the AV versus Legacy game at PAX, the grand final game where AV turned it around in the last minute of the game and then just rushed straight down the middle. If they had that second avenue, that last fight wouldn't have been so contentious, and Legacy never would have come up close enough to that gate that AV could have come around behind them. That would be one scenario where it would be actually influencing the game, but those scenarios are so few and far between that when they do come up, it's going to be interesting how the players utilize them. And until we actually see that happen at any level that is televised and broadcasted, whether that's Challenger Series, both here and States and EU, or whether that's LCS or LPL or Korea, until we see a moment where it happens, we're not going to see any more changes based around the gates. I really, really like the vision system. I think that is absolutely perfectly balanced. If you have vision through it, they're overpowered straight away. I really, really like the vision system that they've provided with it, though.
Alright, well, let's move on to Smite.
I think Smite charges.
Yeah.
Skip Baron?
Like
I want to, well, actually, with what Rink said, I want to talk about Baron, but we'll no, just because, yeah, anyway, let's talk about Smite.
Smite has 2 charges. Now
Smite
let's
has
talk about Baron.
No. Let's. this is. I mean, this is one of the biggest change. Like, this is a pretty huge change. Like,
But it's. I don't want to. It's too much.
if you're too weak to be on the show, we can always kick you off.
Excuse me, I will kick you off.
You want to see? No.
Believe it or not,
Let's not get into
Smite now has 2 charges.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this is a big change in terms of, like, it enables, I think, contested dragons and contested barons. It allows the jungler to use their jungle items on a champion, and then also use Smite on a baron. So I think that's a pretty huge deal. You think about champions like, I mean, the one that allows basic attacks to do true damage on a champion. Like, if the whole team is then auto-attacking a champion, that's a lot of damage. So, I think that's a pretty sizable change.
It's really... Yeah, no, what I want to...
With fucking hell, Steve.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. What are you saying? Speak up.
I said, I want to make my opinion quick. I want to say one thing, so everyone else can say the rest. You can... On an early Baron, you can smite it at the start and the end of it to kill it.
Yep, true, yeah.
Alright, move on. Steve.
I completely forgot what I was going to say.
That's
that's what I was going to. I was going to talk about the dynamic of junglers in general. Like, ever since junglers existed back in Season 1, they've taken, with the exception of maybe Olaf and maybe some silly Tryndamere players, they've always taken Flash and Smite. Always taken Flash and Smite. There was never a competitive alternative to that. You see some Shakos taking Ignite Smite, and you'll see solo queue differences, but on a competitive level, it's always been Flash and Smite, and Smite has only ever been used to hit monsters. Now it's capable of being used on champions. They've been given that alternative, but because you need Smite for the Baron or whatever, that option isn't a realistic one in team fights. Now that they've changed the way that you can use it twice within a 15-second gap, I think that makes a big difference to what a jungler can contribute to a team fight around like a Baron that's halfway, it's down on half health. You can start with Smite, use that Smite, whatever the Smite's doing, use it to your full advantage, get a couple of kills, and then move in and finish off and still secure it with a second Smite. So that's about the, that's what this Smite change just sings to me. That's what I see when I look at the changes. And it kind of feels
I see the Smite change a lot differently. I see it impacting the early game a lot more than it impacts the late game. The fact that you can now smite your camp and then also use Smite to gank a lane is huge. It means ganking junglers are no longer punished for ganking. Like, before, if you ganked with your Smite and used Smite on the enemy champion and you didn't get that kill, you were just done. The next 60 seconds of the game, you couldn't farm a camp. So I think that's where it really impacts the game is when it comes into ganking and farming early on.
I agree with you 100%.
Later on, I think
for that
two
stuff.
smiting in the fight and the Baron, like, you've either won the... Oh, sorry, guys.
I think that probably the people who gets punished by this the hardest is probably Rangers Trailblazer, because they have very little reason to want it. Like, they get no benefit of having, like, a jungler, like Killer said, like, can smite a camp and then go gank. Well, Rangers Trailblazer can only be used against camp. So I think in some ways this is kind of a backwards, like, they might need to rethink about what they do to Rangers Trailblazer to kind of make it, give it maybe a bit of an edge.
Well, still being able to smite twice in 15 seconds. Go, Vic.
Well, yes, with the Trailblazer thing, you can... Yes, that what you said, Carrot, but also you can smite a camp and then but you can also use it on a big clump of minions in the wave, so you can really quickly push a wave with Trailblazer. So, like, that's good.
Yeah,
like,
I guess so.
If you're sieging and you want to clear the wave real quick, just smite them. If you're defending a siege and you need to clear the wave and you don't have a Nivea, just smite them.
True. Yeah.
Over the couple of Nautilus games I play, I only decided to pick up Trailblazer. I was just looking at the other ones. I'm like, nah, I'm a CC bot. I don't need anything else. I don't need the bonus tree damage. Rangers Trailblazer is the best because I'm not going to be counter jungling either. And then just go in, smite, and hit E in the middle of the wave. Wave cleared. Goodbye. I'm going to go back off to my jungle. I've just saved my mid laner's farm. Mid laner's tower more than anything. And I can go back to farming. And I've picked up a bunch of bonus XP. That's the important part here. Is if you use it for that sort of thing, then you have a huge XP boon, and then 15 seconds later you can clear a camp with it again.
Yeah, I think it actually really rewards gankers because if you smite your wraiths, you get your 90-second buff or whatever it is to clear wards and such, and then you go to gank, and so you've cleared a ward, or you know there's no wards there because of that buff. You can sit there for 20 to 30 seconds, and normally that would be incredibly punishing for a jungler. Like, if you stop farming for 20 to 30 seconds, you are immediately falling way behind the curve. But because of the way the smite charges work, that time has actually been put to use in giving you additional smites, because it's one every 75 seconds. So once you've got that charge and it's already started charging up to the second one, if that gank opportunity turns out to be a false one, like doesn't actually go anywhere, you can just go back to your jungle and you'll have 2 smites, so you'll be able to clear faster to catch up for that time wasted.
I actually think that the Rangers Trailblazer argument is pretty null and void as well, because after 15 minutes, you probably shouldn't really have a Trailblazer. Like,
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, especially since it's free to swap. Like, there's not much point in having it. Like, you always build it and then you just swap to something else. Like, after 10 minutes, like that's sort of its use in the game. And I don't know if that's what Riot intended, but that's
the way it is now.
Like, there's no point in having a Rangers Trailblazer like later on in the game. The only possible use for a Rangers Trailblazer that I could maybe see like 45 minutes in the game is if they have Baron and you smite the melee creep. Like, that's pretty useful, but beyond that, like, it's probably not even worth it.
Maybe they could change it so the stun actually works on Dragon or Baron. That would probably be pretty good. I mean, a 1.5 second...
The only stun that works on those monsters. So
that's all right.
Yeah, well, I think that's.
Can I give a quick piece of advice to some junglers who are just trying to? Because
as long as it's not Big Tarek.
Yes, but you'll notice that the recharge time is longer than its previous cooldown. So if you're using Smite every time it recharges, you will not make any good use out of the 2 charges you can have. So if I can give some advice to junglers, when you are farming, only use a smite when you have 2 available for farming. Because then you are always recharging a smite, but also you have 1 available and you're not wasting it on jungle creeps.
You know who's really good to practice this skill with? Teemo. Teemo's ultimate is basically, like, you play that exact same way that you've described.
You're going to burn in hell, Steve. I'm just saying that right now.
Yes.
You just encourage people to play
Steve,
Teemo.
I agree with you, because Teemo players should always hang on to 1 shroom. No, that is very good, because Teemo players will always hang on to 1 shroom and always keep 1 on recharge. Because if you got 3 shrooms, you're basically wasting your ultimate. If you keep putting them down, but you're hanging on to 1 in case shit goes down, you need to drop 1 and run, so they run over it, and you slowed and you hate me because I'm Teemo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's worse here, him bringing the point up or you agreeing with it.
Wow.
Trying to work
You
it
all
out.
need to stop getting angry about Teemo because he's not a freaking Satan.
I gotta say, by the way, just as a complete aside, Victor, like with the fez and with the bookcase, you really need like a smoking pipe, like, you know, just one of the old. You just need to sit there in a bathrobe, and just yeah.
I have.
Anyway, let's talk about Baron. So.
No, can we talk about the Teemo strategy first?
No. Okay, so
Baron has had big HP and damage nerfs.
Theoretically, we've only got 5 minutes left, so maybe we should save this for another day. But
As,
Well, if we've only got 5 minutes left, Ranconius, finish your thought, and then we'll go.
well, maybe I don't want to. No, I'll finish my thought. Okay, so what you should be doing as well is making sure if you have 2 stacks, or the only time that you should be using all the stacks is the same time as Teemo, is if you want to use it right before you go base. Especially like with Teemo, it's 100 mana. So to use the shroom right before you go base, you use that resource, and then you're not going to use it again when you go base. You're going to have a full bar back. So it's the same thing with Smite. Even though there's no resource usage there except for the cooldown timer on the charges, you are using the time that you're running back out into the jungle and also healing whilst you're in base. So I don't know, if you've got 1 Smite left over after your team just took a dragon, go and take the Wraiths, or go and take the Krug, smite them. Even smite the Wolves if you're going to as well. You know, that's usefulness right there.
Can I just, Carrot, can we please call the episode, like, Advanced Teemo Strats? I think we need it.
Kill me now.
I think it needs to happen.
So, Steve, I actually want to know. Did you hear about the big HP and damage nerfs that Baron has taken?
Well, I have to cover those. I have to finish up now because I've got to go and do some stuff straight after the show.
There's
But
2 things that we need to mention from 5.2 before we close off.
All right.
First of all, for anyone who hasn't heard, Deathfire's Grasp has been removed.
And Blackfire Torch.
And whatever.
Hey, I'm really upset about Blackfire Torch. Yeah, goodbye DFG, not really gonna miss you, but Blackfire Torch, man!
So, Steve, I hear Deathfire Grasp was removed.
No, the other thing I wanted to point out, because I know Karen has to go, is Giant's Belt now builds out of a ruby crystal. This is massive. That is a massive deal. We'll cover why next week.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely cover much, like, whatever remains. I mean, there's still so much to talk about. We've got the Ari Tristana changes. There's so much more to talk about. So this is going to take us a while. But if you have any questions, make sure you contact us. So OzLoL podcast at gmail.com. Or you can hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, which is facebook.com or twitter.com/OzLoL podcast. So
I love Twitter discussions. Can we generate some Twitter debate? If anyone has any questions, at Ranconius on Twitter.
Sure. No worries.
And Victor Bradley, don't bother me.
Well, I think people from your attitude today, I think people will definitely do that. All right. Well, Killer Ari, thanks for joining us this week. It was really great having you on, and I think we'll definitely, if you're interested, we'll definitely have to have you back on again in future.
Yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed it this week. It was good fun. I'd love to make a repeat appearance. Maybe we can discuss. Nah, you don't wear the shirt every time.
Change your shirt. You're not allowed to wear it anymore.
Mate, get out of here, Scott. You're not
Told. You guys telling people. That's funny.
Hey, this is welcome to us casting, because we did. Me and Kalari have done like a lot of casting. It's literally just we spend half the cast ripping on each other as jokes.
Nice. All right, cool.
You don't make any jokes. At least not funny.
Wow. I think the episode's going to be called New Guy Ripping on Ranconius, because that's like what everybody needs to watch for. All right, well, we'll be back again next week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. The VOD will be up later today. We'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a nice day.